Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fresh Perspectives podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Lauren, and I'm so excited you're here with me today. What if the internet didn't make us feel worse about the world, but actually reminded us how much good is still out there? A few weeks ago, I was walking through the subway station at Union Square when I saw someone standing with a sign that said, "Tell me your good news." The person holding the sign was named Meg, the creator behind Signs with Meg. And what started as a simple idea, standing in public spaces and asking strangers to share their good news, has turned into a powerful reminder of how much joy still exists in the world. In today's episode, Meg and I talk about the courage it takes to do something that feels a little crazy at first, why the internet can sometimes trap us in cycles of negativity, and how small moments of human connection can completely shift our perspective. We also dive into what it means to choose curiosity over fear and why sometimes the most meaningful stories can come from total strangers. In this episode, you'll also hear about the incredible good news people have shared with Meg. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the negativity online or wondered how one small idea could actually make a difference, this conversation is a reminder that spreading joy might be simpler than we think. Let's get into it. Megan, it is so surreal to be here with you. So I'll give a little bit of context into how we met. So it was a few weeks ago, you were standing in the subway station at Union Square and you had a sign that says, "Tell me your good news." And I walked past you initially. I was on my way to a work event. And I doubled back because one, I had recognized you from Instagram. So I was like, okay, I know that she's the sign girl. And I thought it was just so cool that you were brave enough to stand there with a sign for the sake of sharing joy and spreading joy. So I stopped and chatted with you super briefly. I reached back out to you. You were so gracious to want to be on the podcast. So welcome to Fresh Perspectives. Tell us how Signs with Meg came to be.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Signs with Meg came to be because I just got really fed up with like doom scrolling all the time. I felt like there's just so much bad news that we're flooded with each day, and sometimes it can feel like we're swimming in a sea of bad news. And like I kind of just wanted to give people a life raft of good news to hold on to. And just like one place that can humanize us and where we can all meet to just agree that like, oh, wow, you started a new job. That's great. That's great news. And just kind of like level set back to the fact that, we don't have many chances to agree with each other anymore. There's just so much disagreement everywhere. I was like, dude, I just want one place on the internet where we can just agree over some good things. The signs I've been holding, like, really appeals to all generations. That's like really surprised me about it. Because yeah, like we're made to feel like we all are so different, but we really aren't. Like there are definitely things that like we have tons of differences, but we have so many more similarities than we do differences. And that's been like really refreshing to connect back with through this.
First of all, how do you get the guts to stand out there with a sign with your phone recording you? I can imagine that feels awkward at times.
It totally does. Like it's cringe mountain for sure, but that is easier than a 9 to 5 to me somehow. I like content creation. I do social media consulting for work for like like a bunch of different clients. And I've always known that I wanted to do something myself. But then as soon as this idea came to be, I was just like, it sounded crazy. It felt too like out there. But I was just like, I don't know. I'm curious enough to like just get out there and see what would happen. But yeah, the first time I did it, I was in Soho on like Spring and Lafayette, where it's like so busy. Pretty immediately, received very well.
Hmm.
So as nervous as I was, I knew I struck gold before it even like went viral. I knew that I was doing something that was clicking, which felt really, really good. And I've just been chasing it ever since then. But I did actually start this as flyers. I will say that,
Oh, okay.
which those
Okay.
didn't work. I was talking to a really good friend of mine. His name is T. Kyle. We talk to each other about creative stuff all the time. I look up to him a lot. And I said, like, I just want to help. I want to fix how, like, so many of us, our brains feel broken every day. Like, this is doing brain damage, like catching up on
Mm,
our phones every day and seeing so much bad news. And so I was like, oh, the flyers didn't work. The flyer said, tell me something good.
okay.
And I went to him to be like, okay, well, the flyers didn't work. What should I change the flyers to say instead? And he was like, honestly, I really think that you should do this in person. Like, I
Mm.
think it would be more personal for people to tell you their good news. And I was like, what? So I like film that? Like it sounded so crazy. I was like, I guess I could just put my phone on a tripod. But yeah, it felt crazy town. It felt insane, but made me feel brave. So I was like, there's something here for me.
I love that. And how did you know? You just said that you felt like you had gold. How did you know that?
Because even if people wouldn't come talk to me, like, be in the video, I could see their eyes light up when they saw my sign, and
Mm,
I could see them ask the people they were with, like, "What's your good news?" And
mm.
so, that was really encouraging, and I know that not everyone wants to, like, be on camera, and there's so many content creators being like, "Hey, do you wanna film on TikTok?" Like, I get that that's not everyone's thing, but I knew that, okay, if I could spark conversations in real life, then I could spark conversations online, so that's when I was like, "Okay, I think
Mm.
I'm onto something."
So take us with you. You're standing in Soho. It's your first time doing it. What are the thoughts going through your head? What was that experience like for the first time ever?
Oh my gosh. Like, honestly, I was just
Yeah.
like, you know what? I could try this once and it would just be strange footage that I have on my phone forever. And I'll just have some giggles about it. But yeah, I just felt like very smiley. I felt like, okay, I'm just gonna treat this as a social experiment. And I'm just the only one who knows about it. But like people started coming up to me within a couple minutes, but I was standing there for like several minutes with people seeing me reading my
Yeah.
sign and being like, huh. And I was just like, okay. I felt very vulnerable, very raw, but it's helped me look more closely at my relationship to control and like relinquishing control. It feels like a free fall sometimes.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Like I remember that trying to remember exactly where the quote is from, but Rachel Dratch from SNL was doing some interview at one point and talking about how like what a bonding experience it is to do improv with someone. I'm very, very intrigued by comedians, people who do improv, like things like that. Like I've just always been really fascinated by that art form because of the way they talk about bombing. And Rachel Drash was saying, like, you kind of look over each other in the middle of a scene and you know, like, it's not going well. And you're like, oh no, we're falling. But like you feel like you're falling together. And this is different because I was doing it by myself, but it has really renewed the kind of trust I have in myself too. Like going out and doing something that doesn't always work. Sometimes I go and like I have plenty of days where I've had footage where like I didn't use any of it. And I was like, okay, that was embarrassing. That felt like a waste of my time, or like that really ruffled my feathers. Like I've had times like that too, but it's helped me, yeah, build trust with myself and my ability to just get out there and not be afraid to make mistakes and not be afraid to like look silly.
That stops a lot of people, right? Like, people will have
Yeah.
ideas and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I don't wanna look stupid. I don't wanna fail." But sometimes that's part of the process. Like, you have days where you don't get
Yeah.
any content, but failing is kind of part of learning and growing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like I think that I also just had hit such a snag with my career in New York. I did real estate for most of my career, and I decided around the end of last year that it's just not really working. And like, I do love doing it, but I just kind of woke up one day and was like, I think I'm moving in the wrong direction.
Mm,
And I feel so alive when I do content creation, but like, it never felt like a smart thing to do.
mhm.
But I spent so many years trying to do what I felt like I should do and what felt like a smart thing to do, and like the responsible thing that I was just like, I think in doing that, I've gotten really out of touch with like what I actually want to do and what my intuition is trying to like, lead me towards. So it felt like, you know what? I've tried the other route. I've tried to be really straight laced about it, but like I'm just not that way. And like embracing the chaos and like the curiosity of it did feel way more me. So I knew
Yeah.
that, okay, well, at least I won't have regrets.
And I think it's important to know that, like, just because you close one chapter and you start something new, it's never permanent. It doesn't mean you couldn't go back to real estate
Yeah.
or you couldn't try another job. And I think a lot of people are like, well, if I take this huge risk and it bombs and it fails, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? But there's always another road ahead. At least that's what I
Yeah,
found.
totally. Totally. There's some quote that I'm like paraphrasing, but it's like the idea that there is like a right and a wrong choice to make in every single decision is like the universe really kind of does respond to whatever decision you do make. I'm trying to embrace that more right now. It's difficult.
I am really curious. I obviously stopped and chatted with you and told you my good news, which is I started this podcast. What have been some stories that you've heard out in the wild while holding your sign?
Honestly, like so many. The ones that have really stuck with me the most has been people who've shared things about like health journeys, like whether they're battling cancer or someone was talking to me about how their dad had like a nerve disease that he's struggling with right now. And I was like, God, that sounds so like, painful and awful. But she was just coming up to deliver the good news that he's feeling better. And that's like so great for her and her family. And she's going to go see him this weekend. And like, I think that finding the glimmers of good news in what is probably a sea of a lot of bad news, like I think that that's like really powerful. I'm so honored when they invite me into that and a bunch of other strangers in to hope for more good alongside them. It just, like, feels very human, and I just hear a lot about, like, little things of people's day too. Like, I see people stop and, like, see my sign, and they're like, "Oh, I wanna tell her good news." And they'll be, like, talking with a friend, and they'll be like, "Okay, what are you gonna say? What do you" I don't know what I'm gonna like, I see them talking about it. Someone I literally the other day watched someone talk to his friend for, like, several minutes, and he goes, "Okay, I had my favorite loaf of bread today." And I was like, "I love that so much."
It makes us pause and think about, like, there's always
Yeah.
good. Like, there's so much bad, but when we pause and reflect, like, there also is so much good.
Yeah, and that's like I haven't quite figured out how to word this yet. But another part of kind of like my message with all of this is my main message is to remind people that the internet can be used for good. That's like my whole thing. But then a secondary message is like, listen, there's totally bad things that are happening all around the world. They are very real. But I think that the amount of surface area they take up on the internet is not reflective of how much space they take up in reality, because they take up so much of the internet.
Yeah.
All of those things are real and they're happening, but like good news and good things are not getting a proper representation online. So it feels like all of the bad is like way more powerful than it is. But yeah, I'm trying to just like balance the scales here and just like have more of a place for like, wait, 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 wait. We need places for this to live too, because it is just as powerful, if not more powerful than all that.
I mean, I have chills listening to you speak because I think it's such a deep human insight. And I think, growing up in the social media age, I think you're around the same age as I am. It started out as a place for good. It started out with connecting with your
Yes.
friends, and it turned into something like very like depressing. Like you said, doom scrolling and all
Mhm.
this bad news. And it's kind of this notion that controversy drives clicks. So you'll even see content creators like come at it with a hot take or say something totally diabolical just to drive views. I
Rage
mean,
bait.
yeah, what is your opinion on that and how we can maybe each of us kind of be the antithesis to that?
Yeah. I mean, I've had like a couple eras of my life even that I would say I like lost myself to rage bait. I'm like a very like addictive personality kind of person. Like I literally talk about how much I'm on my phone in therapy quite a bit. I'm just like, it's one of my like just dissociation flags for when I'm like, "Hey, I'm, like, really checked out," is when I'm like, I can't stop scrolling on my phone.
Mm,
Um, and that started, like, several years ago for me where I literally started going to therapy for the first time as an adult because I was like, "I'm supposed to be working and I can't stop scrolling on my phone." Like,
mhm,
that's
mhm.
crazy. Like, I
Yeah.
can't stop. I know I should, and, like, there has to be something deeper because, like, what's going on? Um, but getting more to the bottom of that made me understand that these things are set up to be addictive. Um and giving myself like grace for that, but also just like the way that I've had to change my relationship with my time online was like, if I see rage bait, I'm like that's not for me.
Yeah.
That literally, I can't. Like, it could have a subject line that is so interesting to me, and like it could be about a show I watch or a person I follow or whatever. But I'm like, I started to look at like the structures of how rage bait works,
Mm,
because I would fall for it all the time. And I was just like, "Oh my god, like, how do I keep falling for this?" Because, like, I don't feel like myself when I'm feeling, like, angry. It's just
mhm.
I'm someone who gets frustrated a lot, but, like, anger is not an emotion I really, like, naturally come upon a lot, but I was just, yeah, I was angry all the time. I was looking at my phone. So I had to do like a lot of inner work on that. And truly, I thought a lot about how the internet used to feel. Like it just used to be so many funny memes. And like it just was like a collection of, yeah, the best and funniest things that anyone's ever said. And it was a place we all got to go together. And I think that if we kind of like peel back the experience we all have online now, and just really simplify it back to just how it started, I think there is so much profound um, simplicity and connection in the way that it started that I do think is could be brought back. And I also was really inspired by how I personally use the internet to bring people together a few times, like over the past few years. So, like one example was when December of 2024, I got together like 1,500 Swifties for the last show of the Eras tour. You know how people live stream the
Yep,
shows?
yep.
I was a big live streamer. I would like watch the live stream every night, like what are the surprise songs? And I felt such a sense of community. And I was like, dang, like I totally understand the Eras tour has to end. Like she's given us so much. But I was just like, oh gosh, I'm gonna miss like that online community of all of us like psychos on the live stream. And I was like, there has to be at least 100 other people who would have watched the live stream and we could go to a bar and we could all watch it together. So I made like one or two TikToks about that. And it never even went super viral. Like it had like, I think even now it has like 70,000 views, something like that. Nothing crazy, but for that many people to get together on a Sunday night, like it didn't even start till like 11 p.m. We were there till 3 in the morning in the cold. Like if that many people came out for that kind of event, I was just like that night changed my life. It was one of the most special times of my entire life. It was like a paradigm shift for me about like what the internet could do for us and just kind of like remembering that this is something that is a tool
Yes.
instead of just like a really bad habit that we all have in our pockets.
And I think reframing social instead of doom scrolling and brain rot into a vehicle for real life connection is a really powerful mindset shift in how we look at social media.
Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, I'm kind of just trying to put joy bait out there and just see, like, what happens.
And I love that everybody who comes up to you, like, joy is so relative, right? Like, eating a loaf of bread versus I beat cancer. It just makes
Yeah.
you think like everything is relative and it kind of puts your entire life in perspective when, you're listening to somebody who's had this huge uphill battle and they're just grateful for another day. It's like, wow, has
Mhm.
has that really changed your life hearing those types of stories?
Totally. It just has really put in perspective that we all are carrying around such rich inner worlds. It's actually like the definition of the word sonder. Sonder is the profound, often sudden realization that every random passerby is living a life as vivid, complex, and chaotic as your own. I was like, "Wait, holy
Mm,
shit." The definition of that word really shook me, and is something that I think about a lot now because it's easy to just be stuck in, like, your own life, your own thoughts, your own patterns, the things that you're worried about, the thing like, we all think so much about ourselves and, sometimes it's not even that self-centered, it's just like, you're in your own bubble,
mhm.
and especially during the winter, like, this New York City winter has been hard, it's been a little isolating. Like it's not lost on me that I pretty much launched this in the dead of winter. It's just made me look at my fellow neighbor differently whenever I'm just out and about in the world now. I'm just like, it always surprises me who comes up to talk to me. Like at first, especially when I'm in the subway stations where I met you, like it could just be anyone. Like there are times where I'm like, oh, I bet this girl's gonna come talk to me, or like, oh, that looks like, someone we'd be friends or whatever. And like sometimes they do, and sometimes it's like the last person who I thought would come talk to me. And then they have like just the brightest, warmest soul. And I'm like, oh wow, I never thought they would like talk to a stranger with a camera. So it's just that I think has affected me a little bit more than the actual news because that's been like the more impactful part for me is like I do get very, very nervous when I do these. Like the first time was nerve wracking, but I could tell that it worked. But continuing to do it has been harder than starting it because yeah, like it can feel insane. and it can feel hard to like stay connected to this kind of like crazy idea. Like, so I'm actually usually pretty nervous when people come up and talk to me, but it always is such a relief that I'm just like, oh, like it's a human and like they have a whole like little life, and it makes me feel less like intimidated because I'm like, oh, they're coming to share their joy with me, and just the rich inner worlds of I never have any idea what anyone's gonna say. People surprise me all the time. Like that I would say has affected me much more than the actual good news, which is kind of surprising.
And then you share the joy right back, because then you give them a little capybara, which sits on my desk. That brought me
Yes.
so much joy. I was like, "Here's this total stranger I just stopped and talked with for a few seconds, and she just gave me this adorable capybara." So I love that you do that. That's so cute.
Thanks. I like originally again, like I get so nervous. Like I'm actually a pretty socially anxious person, but like really no one would ever guess that because I do kind of like mask it really well.
Mhm.
But there were just some times where like you were like kind of running late. You're like, I started a podcast. Okay, I gotta go. Thanks so much. But like some people, I never know how to judge if I'm should ask a follow-up question or if I should cut the conversation off. Like I always am like kind of figuring out how to juggle that, or like I don't want to waste people's time. Are they in a hurry? And so sometimes if I feel awkward and I don't know what to say, I just would pull out a little trinket in my pocket. I was like, I want to be able to like end an interaction
Mm.
when like it to have some sort of control, because the whole exercise again is like such a trust fall. So I think it helped me just feel more comfortable to be like, okay, here's a little capybara. Thank you.
I think it also catches people off guard because we live in a society where it's like, okay, what do they want? Do they want to sell me something? Like, what do they want
Yeah.
from me? But you're providing interaction that's just like 100%, like no sale, nothing. It's just for the
Yeah.
sake of
Truly.
connection, which like catches people off guard, to be honest.
Yeah, that too. I think like it was something a little control thing for me to be like, okay, if I don't know what to say, I'll just pull out a little trinket, you know. But then I started doing it every time because I was like, wait, this is awesome and it makes people so happy.
Mm.
And like trinket culture is something that I've stolen from like rave culture. Or like I've
Mm.
borrowed it from there. I go to a lot of like raves and like concerts and things like that. And I've had so many moments. I keep all of them. But like if I'm just like vibing and there's someone next to me and they're like, hey, I like your energy, and they'll just give you a little like acrylic duck. And I'm just like, oh, hello. I love that so much. Like I have tons of trinkets people have given me. Just total strangers. I never saw them again. But like that I loved that so much. So I'm trying to bring that to mainstream. And like my friend is running like a Tough Mudder this weekend. And so I sent a little trinket to be like, oh my God, good luck. It's a little good luck duck. And I'm like, send trinkets to your friends. Like that's such a life hack. Yeah, it really does just spread a lot of joy. And it's a good way to just show them like, I am using you for content and that's all. Like I really just hope that you have a great day and thanks for taking your time. And it's so cold too. So I'm like, I appreciate you being brave, coming to be on camera and letting me film you for my social media. Like, thank you so much. Because the show is really not about me at all. It's I'm like, it's very dependent on who comes up and talks to me. So I'm very grateful that they're a part of it.
I feel the same way with the podcast. Like I love giving really awesome people a platform to share their stories. I always walk away where like, oh my gosh, I learned so much. That was a gift for me. And I hope it's a gift for other people as well. Because the
I love
more we
that.
share, like you said, we're all humans. We're all subject to the human condition. And the more that we can share and kind of connect on that human level, like that's what's gonna save the world, honestly, in my opinion.
Literally. I literally believe that. Yeah.
So, how could somebody who's listened to this podcast spread joy themselves? You obviously took it upon yourself to do something very brave. If someone's not as brave, how can they inspire joy on the internet?
I think even just like sometimes if I see like a comment section where I'm like, damn, everyone's being really like dehumanizing about this person who's maybe not done something perfectly. We now have like kind of this obsession with like everyone being like hyper held accountable of like every single thing. And I'm like, hey, that's making everything so much worse. So like even sometimes like for example, I like Bravo. Are you a Bravo person? Like
I am
reality
not,
TV?
but I can respect it.
No, totally fair. Um, I like, you know, someone will do something on one of the shows and they'll do some doofus move. And people will just like in the comment section be like, oh my God, what an idiot. Blah, blah. And everyone's just so like nasty. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't always feel brave enough to be like someone in the comment section like, "Hey, I feel like this person just made a mistake and, we saw it and I'm sure they feel embarrassed. I'm sure they are learning from it. I don't think we're helping." But just kind of like I would say having more offline conversations helps me be more human in my online conversations.
How we talk to people in person is very different than how we talk to them online.
Very different.
Even if everybody saw that guy in real life, would they say what they're saying in the comments? Probably not, right?
Yeah. I'm like, y'all would act so different. And so yeah, I think like the more that we all can individually connect back to our offline lives,
Mhm.
and like really just using joy as an act of resistance right now is so important. And then just like taking that with you onto the internet. Even if you're not brave enough to be in the comment section, like, well, I think this. Like I think just making your algorithm work for you and letting the internet connect you to good things and like literally completely scrolling past rage bait. Like when I see those comment sections of whatever it is where people are just dog piling on someone, I'm just like, I can't. Like
Not for
that's not for
me.
me. I'm going to be using the internet for good today, like whether it's output or just what I'm taking in from it. Um, I don't want to let the monster eat me alive.
And I want to remind people that spreading joy in real life costs you no money and almost always like makes me so joyful in return. I have a friend who has
True.
since left New York, but every time she comes back to New York, when we're on the subway, she's going up to people and she's like, "I love that hat. Those pants so cool." And I'm just like, "Why don't
Oh,
I do that more?" First of all, people are like at first like, "Oh my gosh." And then they're like, oh, "Okay, she's giving me a compliment." And then, like,
yeah.
the joy exchange is so palpable, and I think being a New Yorker, we get, like, hardened, and we're like, "Nope, we're in our bubble, we don't talk to people."
Yeah.
But, like, the other day, I was coming home from the park, and this woman had cool pants, and I did the same thing, I was like, "Love your pants," and she was like, "Oh, thanks," and it made me feel good, it made her feel good, and I just feel like we don't do that enough, so just giving someone a compliment, it's free, it takes a little bit of courage, but I feel like it's just such a joyful experience.
That was a big thing that my friends and I did when I was living in Dallas. That's like where I'm from. And when I was living there, like post grad, when I was like young 20s, um, I just remember that like I was having the time of my life and I was like, y'all look good. I look good. We're all having fun, whatever, like la la la. It was just like very, I loved hyping other people up because I was having that was like one of the most fun eras of my life until I moved to New York. And then that was the best era of my life. But I really had like so much fun really becoming an adult. And so yeah, we would always throw compliments out to each other. And I remember that this girl came in town. She like wasn't from Dallas. She was from like a smaller town in Texas. And she was like, "Oh my God, like all the women in Dallas here are so beautiful. Like, do you just hate yourself the whole time you're out? Like that feels so intimidating." And like I just was like, I don't think about it like that. Like
Mm.
we're all just out having a good time. And my friends and I also have a saying. We say, "Who cares, bitch? Have a good time." Where like we just invite more of that energy, and especially on a night out. Because yeah, it's free and it's very contagious. Like the fact that your friend did that when she was in town, and it's like then you're like, okay, wait, I want to do it too. It's so contagious, and I bomb sometimes when I do that. Like I try and talk to strangers like all the time. I kind of always have. I've just been fascinated by it. Don't talk to strangers like never really hit for me as a lesson as a kid, but like um there are tons of times where I try to give someone even like a compliment and like they don't hear me or they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Okay, but like the times where it goes well, it is so deeply contagious because yeah, it's so human. And it's like, hey, we're all standing right next to each other and we could interact more than we do. So I love that.
I think that's such a great way to end this episode. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I feel more joyful just from our conversation. I feel
Oh,
more aware of the content that I'm consuming and how I'm interacting with it and how
hello.
it's making me feel, which is really important. And yeah, I think we all as individuals have the power to be agents for good and agents for spreading joy. So, Meg, thank you so much for joining the podcast. If people want to check out Signs with Meg, where can they find you?
Right now, they can find me on Instagram and TikTok, and YouTube is coming. I guess I need to figure out YouTube, but hopefully, going to be on there as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Meg. It's been great having you.